Welcome back, folks, to another edition of Steady Dropping Dimes, episode 5, brought to you by our friends at Destination Ann Arbor. I call them your tour guide to all things, all the sights, sounds, all the people, places, and things in Washtenaw County. Ann Arbor is in the name, but it's about all the things to see and do right here in Washtenaw County. Got another special I Love Ann Arbor segment for you with a new intro screen, right? So, looking forward to debuting that to the people and continuing our exploration of your favorite drinking spots in Ann Arbor, right? We are looking to find that location. You see this line, see the Lion Stadium in the background? You see that? Like I'm committed to us having a gathering, a get together for a Lions Sunday with the Steady Dropping Dimes crew, right? Daniel, I know you need a team right now because Saints not going anywhere, man.
Oh, die hard, die hard for life.
You can come on with us,
Daniel. You come on with us, man. Saints not going anywhere. But I want to get early in this episode into J-Mo being back, and Devin, you had a bird's eye view doing all the Lions preseason games. I was so proud. I was sitting up there watching DG, watching to be the color guy for the Lions broadcast on TV with Jason. You working with Jason. That's another dude. Mm-hmm. That's kind of I won't call him a protege, but I did some work with him as well. So I worked the play-by-play guy and the color guy of the Lions broadcast. I was like,
basically, you was doing the Lions broadcast at this point.
I was like, man, I felt like a proud brother. Anyway, folks, again, we got the I Love Ann Arbor segment coming up in the middle. If you have watering hole drinking spot suggestions in Ann Arbor, we got some great ones last week. I featured Ann Arbor Distilling. Hope those of you who watched that episode, go check that out. It's a hidden gem here in Ann Arbor. Try the wheat vodka. It is outstanding, right? Someone said Session Room to check that out. Another recommendation was Monty's Public House. In the comments, Connor O'Neill's Downtown was another one that was mentioned as a good option. So keep those suggestions coming in. And then when we get ready to shoot the My Ann Arbor segment, where we go to all our favorite spots, or we can't go to all of them, some of our favorite spots in Ann Arbor, Devin, Daniel, and I will make one of the stops one of those days hey, we get together and check out the Lions on a Sunday or maybe a Monday. Who knows? I don't know how it all works.
Yeah, they're getting primetime games these days, man.
You see, they got flexed to they flexed the Bucks game because now the Lions, top of the NFC North, and the Bucks are top of the NFC South. Mm-hmm. So it's like, hey, man, it's foreign territory for me. You got to let me bask in the glow. Not since the early 90s. You wasn't even born yet. Devin, you knee high to a bullfrog, right? But the early 90s, the Lions and Michigan won the Rose Bowl, right? Won the Big Ten, won the Rose Bowl. And they were number one team in the country for the first time in my life. They wound up losing that. But still, number one team in the country. And the Lions were good with Barry Sanders, man. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship game. And people were talking about the Lions and the Cowboys being the teams of the future. The Cowboys went on to be the Cowboys with Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin and Alvin Harper, Troy Aikman, all those dudes. Meanwhile, the Lions, think about what happened. Mike Utley gets paralyzed on the field. Eric Andrusek is doing weed whack in his front yard and gets hit by a Mack truck, right? They have another linebacker, Reggie Brown, get paralyzed on the field. It's like, man, you talk about a franchise that was snake bit. Lions franchise was snake bit. And then the coup de grace, the worst of them all was Reggie White. Reggie White. Do you know Reggie White was considering signing with the Lions? Do you know Reggie White chose Green Bay when Green Bay was garbage? He chose Green Bay over the Lions. I think he looked at Green Bay.
I know that hurt. I know that had to hurt.
He left Philly.
I mean, it hurt in hindsight, but I'm sure it hurt at the time too.
Because they were terrible. This wasn't when Brett Favre hadn't become Brett Favre yet.
Yeah.
Right. They were coming off Don Majkowski, and then Brett Favre had got traded from Atlanta because he was on the bench in Atlanta. He got traded up to them for like a bag of footballs, not very much. And he was just getting started. And Reggie White signed with them, and the Lions had Barry, and they were up and coming. Nobody was talking about the Packers like that. It was one.
Larry Lear said we've been rebuilding since 1957.
Hey, man, but my point is he was looking at a few teams. I can't remember the third team, but I just knew the Lions were going to get Reggie White. They didn't get Reggie White. He goes elsewhere. So then what do? They take their first-round pick, and they trade him to the Saints for Pat Swilling. Pat Swilling was one of the sack masters in the league. He comes to the Lions, can't bust a grape. Meanwhile, the first-round pick they trade to the Saints, they pick Willie Roaf, who's a Hall of Famer. It's like, man, can't win for losing, man. Can't win for losing. So allow me to bask in the glow. All right.
Yeah,
So
I love that long soliloquy, man. It was good. But a lot of them names, I have no idea what you're talking about.
I know you don't.
And I'm just like, what is he talking about? I don't know these people. I wasn't born, I don't think.
Look,
I have been in the same with you, where I've been, you got all these receivers taking the first round. Nobody really works out. And, obviously you know how I feel about Matt Stafford or Pat Stafford. He'd be padding stats, but, all that time, no winning and no play. Not even just winning the big one. We can't even get to the playoff win. Can we at least play in the postseason and win a game, please, brother? While you collecting all this
time y'all made it to the
and making your generational wealth.
Listen,
last time y'all made it to the playoffs, who did y'all lose to?
Cowboys.
Okay,
Cowboys.
I know.
And
We beat
they
y'all
lost
one
to the
time during Drew Brees era as well. When y'all had Calvin Johnson, y'all came to the Superdome and got smoked one year too. So I remember that.
Hey man, nobody asked you that.
That's old stuff. That's
old news.
Yeah, that's days going by. These Lions, I think, are different. And I set the stage with all that pain to kind of bring to you, Devin, because you did the Lions preseason, and that's the last time we saw Jameson Williams, right? So J-Mo's back. I remember watching him and before he blew up as a prospect, he was like this dude out of St. Louis. My man Levi came with him to the camp, him and his dad. It was an Under Armour camp, and I mean he could run, but he was raw. Like he wasn't polished as a route runner. He wasn't polished catching the ball, but you knew he had a lot of talent. He blows up, becomes a 5-star prospect, goes to Ohio State, and he's behind Garrett Wilson and Chris Olave. He transfers from there, goes to Bama, and becomes the best receiver in the country that year before blowing his ACL. The Lions trade up to get him, but then he's out that most of that season, and then he has a gambling thing in the offseason. So we don't know what he's going to bring to the table. You are the closest one among us to having seen him in person during camp. What do you think is a reasonable expectation for Jameson Williams initially and throughout the season?
I don't think early he's going to be a guy that can be dependent on, and this is why he struggled mightily with catching the ball in preseason camp and all that, and it's not necessarily. I mean, I don't know what it was. More of like putting his hands in the right place. It was super weird because it's like, man, you get to this level and you would think a guy knows exactly where to put his hands, when to have his hands ready, whatever the case may be. And so when I dive into it and I was looking at it, as I'm getting ready for the games, I'm like, man, he was always open because of the speed, man. And when you're in college and you're running around, first of all, you usually play against teams, especially if you're at Alabama, Ohio State, you play against teams where your coach is a better schemer of plays than the other coach, right? Your coach is just better. And then in college, as a superior athlete, he's just faster than everybody, right? And I like his route running, but it's all based off of speed, right? And he's just faster than everybody. So a lot of his catches are not combat catches. And what I mean by combat catch, I mean, somebody's hitting you while you're catching the ball, or somebody's near you, reaching in, trying to rake the ball out. That's just not something he had to deal with a whole bunch. And then I think, okay, this guy's so talented. Why didn't he play at Ohio State? Well, what does Ohio State usually have as far as college players? Defensive backs, right? So you're playing at close enough to the level what you're playing now, where guys are closer to you in practice, and you're not making these catches. And we got receivers if we're Ohio State. So that's why you're not going to have the opportunities, because we can't deal with you dropping balls, right? We have guys that are going to catch it, so you got to go to Bama, right? And at Bama, you're being schemed open, you're running open, you're making these plays. But then you get to the NFL, you're back at the same scenario kind of like you were at Ohio State, where guys are close to you where you're making these catches, and he just wasn't able to get a handle on it. And so I don't think you improve doing that by not doing that, right? And so he's been out, right? He hasn't been able to work on that part of his game. Now, the one thing I will say, in the last preseason game, he called a 2-point conversion, and he kind of the last one I did, he kind of caught it with one hand, and it was a pretty good catch and all that. And obviously that's just one play. So I think they have to bring him on, slowly. I think it's going to be up to the coaching staff, because you used the first round on this guy, right? You got to make this work. I think it's up to the coaching staff to scheme him open so he can make plays comfortable the way he made plays at Alabama, right? Get him in position to make the plays that he made there. And I think the more he sees the ball caught, the more he catches balls and sees it, that natural ability will take over when it comes to the combat catches and things like that. But I think he has to get confidence back, right? Because I'm sure he's a confident guy, but there's no way you have the confidence that you need to be successful when you've dropped so many balls and everybody's writing about how you're dropping all these balls and things like that. So I think that the expectation is that he won't be a guy to depend on. He'll be a spot duty guy, right? You try to scheme him open, get him downfield, those deep crossers, things like that, and you build his confidence. And by the end of the season, you hope that he can be the guy you can definitely lean on to make all the big catches, third down, and what have you.
Here's the thing, Daniel and Devin, but I want to focus this question to Daniel first, because just watching him, I don't know him as well as I know some other guys that were recruits, but he really strikes me as a guy. How he feels is how he plays, and maybe that's a lot of players, but he is a guy with an exceptional talent, and so how he feels affecting how he plays is a problem when he knows he's going to be out what he thought was the first 6 games. And I wonder if that really contributed mightily to what we saw. Because remember, when he was at Ohio State, they were like, when he left, they weren't thinking they lost the dude who did what he wound up doing at Bama. They're like, hey, man.
They're like, hey, thank goodness, because we needed that scholarship anyway.
Right. They're like, hey, it is what it is. But he goes to Bama, and he becomes that dude because now he can see it. Like, I'm going to play. I'm going to be the man. I'm going to be the guy. And he starts playing like that. Point. So that's what I'm hoping, as a fan was the case in the preseason. He knows he's not going to play. Everybody's like, man, how could you be so? I'm not calling the man dumb. But they was like, how could you be so dumb? How you're betting when you know you're not supposed to be betting, or you didn't know you weren't supposed to be betting, and you were doing that anyway. He's hearing all this. He knows he's not going to play. I think that affected his preparation at that point in time. So I'm hoping, knowing that he's going to play, is going to bring out another level to his game.
Yeah, maybe so. But if that affected his preparation, and that leads to another level of immaturity or a level of growth that he needs, the steps he needs to take as an athlete, right? Like, you don't want players who are affected by you don't want guys to be moody. That's what Coach used to say when we were playing, right? Hey, you don't want to be one day he comes in, he only performs as he feels good. If he walks in and he's bubbly that day and he's happy and he's cracking jokes and fist bumping, now he's going to be who we expect him to be. If he comes in tomorrow and he's somber and looks like he just woke up and, okay, we're not going to get much out of him. So you don't want that. You really don't want that with your guys that you're counting on. You don't really want that in your program or your organization, period. But guys you're counting on, you don't really want that. So if he's showing signs of that affecting his mindset and his preparation, maybe has a little bit more growth to do before he actually reaches that potential. I don't want to rain on anyone's parade because I love watching him play at Bama, right? But if that's going on, then he definitely has another step or two to take as an athlete as far as his maturation process and his mental toughness. That's a big part of sports.
Sam, you said, isn't that a lot of athletes, right? And that's most athletes, I think. And that's why only 1% of us get to play at that level, right? That's part of what separates you, right? The guy that, man, he's so – how many guys have we seen like, man, he the greatest talent, basketball, football, whatever, that I've ever seen, but it's just not consistent. It's like, oh, he good sometimes, he wishy-washy, everything's going good, oh, no, it's not, oh, his girlfriend broke up with him. I don't have time for that, right? You know what I mean? And so I think that's what separates. And the word is compartmentalization. Can you compartmentalize what's going on in your life outside of your job and the thing you have to do? And like Daniel's saying, if he hasn't figured that out just yet, and that's what I'm saying, that's you can't call on him to be the guy to depend on early, right? Because I think it'd be way too much pressure on him, and now you're gonna lose him forever. And you spent a lot of capital on him, right? And so I think that you're right. It is a lot of athletes, Sam, and that's what separates the 1%ers that play at the level that he's at.
That's what That's what Amon St. Brown is able to do. I mean, look,
Amazing.
when you kind of get on his bad side, when you fire him up, that makes him play better. But if he's hurt or he didn't get balls, it's not like it makes his game go down.
100%.
Like you always gonna get a certain level from Amon St. Brown. Another dude, now him I covered more closely. And his dad, you could tell how he reared him. So he had Amonra, he had Equanimous, and Osiris, right? Equanimous and Amon were both in the NFL. Osiris played at Stanford. I don't know what became of him as an athlete after that, but you know, John Brown, hey man, he had these dudes in the weight room.
Intestinal fortitude,
right?
Mental toughness in its highest form.
Right. So you hope some of that kind of rubs off preparation wise, and compartmentalization, I think, is a great word have that rub off on J-Mo, right? You know, you hope.
Because you got to think about with Amon St. Brown, he's the counted out guy. He's too small. He ain't fast enough. He ain't really that. It's like, oh yeah, he can help. He's just a possession guy. You know what I mean? And so with all that being said, all he has done is catch balls, move the chains, do his job, play hurt, be a dog, and essentially help bring back, well, you know, it's been quite some time since 1957, but bring back the Lions to a national kind of stage.
Yeah, man, I'm telling you, this is rarefied air.
Yeah.
You know, for the Lions to be relevant like this. I still remember when they played the Cowboys, was 1990, it might have been 93 on Monday night when they first broke out the silver helmets with no lion on the side. I was like, oh, this is
silver pants, the blue jersey, just a silver number, real basic.
Yeah, and
Barry had a visor on that game.
Yeah, and he out.
Let me ask you a question, Sam. So going back to those days, who do I? Herman Moore and
Herman Moore. You had Brett Perriman.
Yeah, so that's what the Lions can kind of have if Jameson Williams steps up, right? They'll have a speed receiver, and then you got St. Brown as your possession receiver, or a guy that can just get open and make plays for you in crucial situations. That's going back to the old Lions days, right?
Yeah, it is, man. And you look at the NFC North, like Green Bay is looking like they looked like when I was there. They were garbage. You remember that 89 draft?
I don't know if they garbage, Sam. They okay.
They are garbage. They less garbage than the Bears and the Vikings. Right?
100%. They are much better than the Bears and the Vikings.
But the Lions, man, look, the refs had to put the Packers back in that game to even make it a game, because the Lions stomped the hell out of them in the first half of that. It was glorious, man. I'm watching Aiden Hutchinson go off. I'm watching Lee McNeil. I went to watch Lee McNeil. I flew down to Raleigh, North Carolina. I watched Lee McNeil play fullback. He played linebacker. He played defensive end. He played tight end, all in the same game.
He played like this. He played like he got that kind of ability.
This dude's so cold, right? And so now, he lost weight. He was getting pressure on the quarterback. Charles Harris it was like a sack party. So you watching this team who I wondered that they were going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. Now they're doing that too. You get a guy, and you can talk about this, Daniel. We'll move off the Lions because this is not a Lions show. But you watch what
they're national topic, Sam.
They are.
What people are talking about.
You watch what they do offensively with Ben Johnson, and there's no speed on the field, Devin. And so that's what I want you to kind of focus on here. There's no speed on the field, and yet they're one of the top offenses in the NFL. Now you're putting some speed on the field. So even if J-Mo's not going off, his presence on the field seems like it's going to impact their fortunes offensively.
Yeah, we talk about Dagger all the time, right? Well, that inside guy is just taking guys out so you can open up for that dig coming underneath, right? And so his speed on the field, I think that's going to be a big-time get when they put him out there. I'm just saying you can't depend on him to make the big catch. Like, we ain't designing up all the plays where it's going to have him in compromised positions with guys around him, right? And I think Ben Johnson's going to do a really good job. And it's interesting that you talk about, because this is probably going to be our next subject, is why are they able to have such an explosive offense with no speed? How are they doing this? Well, it's because the quarterback's pretty good. And I was on the Jared Goff train as soon as we got rid of Matt Stafford and we got Jared Goff. I said, y'all are tripping if y'all don't think that's not an upgrade. He is an outstanding football player. He took his team to a Super Bowl. Remember, he was drafted in the same position to a bad Rams team, right? And however it shook out, he got his team to the Super Bowl. He found a way, right? And you're going to say, oh, well, maybe the Bears are a better organization. Well, how about Joe Burrow, who got drafted to an organization that some people look at as worse than the Lions.
Right now.
Right? Worse than the Lions. He found a way in the second year, get his team to Super Bowl, NFC Championship, all these things. So I don't want to hear, oh, it was a bad organization. It wasn't him. If you're that guy, right? And some people just not that guy. But if you're that guy, your organization will be better because you're the quarterback. Look at Caleb Williams coming in. Everybody's going to try to find a way to get him, right? Because him coming in, I don't care how bad the organization is. If you're that guy, you can change it. And as much as whatever you say about Jared Goff, he did that for an organization, all right? So bringing him over, I mean, I thought it was a great move, and it's proving to be an outstanding move because, obviously the year that they won the Super Bowl with the Rams, the quarterback led the NFL in interceptions.
Yeah,
you can't do that when your team ain't stacked. You can't just lead the NFL in interceptions.
Hey, man, this dude is preaching right now. Hey, man, I've been saying the same thing about Matthew. Said, man, they're putting signs up across the state talking about "Go Rams." Because I was like, Matthew, what are we doing?
Goofy.
This dude,
he had us in misery for all these years. He like the person that he put you in the trouble you in, and then he come save you. Look out for you. You didn't save me. You want to know why we was down? Because you didn't come on third down for a whole half, and now you in a where's my team? And then everybody, my goodness, he's a comeback. Why are we always coming back? That's a problem. And nobody can see it because he's nice. He's not on social media. His wife is nice. All those things, and that's all well and good. But winning these football games is what we pay you for. We're not paying you to be a nice guy. Okay?
DG said he put out the fire he started.
You build in the community. You need to win some games, Chief.
DG said he put out the fire he started. Like, come on, man. You ain't saying today.
Let's get off the line. You got me going already.
Right. Hey,
you always get me going, Sam.
No, but you're right, because Matthew Stafford he doesn't elevate teams. He's not elevating the Rams right now. He didn't elevate the Lions. And when they won the Super Bowl, Jared Goff could have won that Super Bowl
100%.
if he was on that team.
Probably would have been better because he wouldn't have threw a pick to the 49ers that got dropped. Because guess what? We're not going to ignore the fact that they lost that game if that dude just kept. I'm sure he's on the payroll from the Stafford family.
Yeah, we
threw him a point, and he just dropped it off his chest.
So let's talk quarterbacks, though, because, I mean, you look around, a lot of people are talking about the Packers because they beat your Saints. Your Saints lost their quarterback. That was a big reason why he wound up facing a good quarterback in Jared Goff, and it just wasn't the same. So all that talk before the season about who's the best quarterback in the NFC North is not even close. It's certainly not Kirk Cousins. Like we know Kirk Cousins, he's going to when it's time for the show, time for the money, he's going to throw it to the other team. It's certainly not Jordan Love. We saw that. He's a placeholder for whoever is going to be down the line. And then Justin Fields. What is Justin Fields for? Give me your thoughts, Daniel, on if this guy is ever going to be a star player in the National Football. He's going to be a quarterback in the National Football. But they were making him out to be a star.
You said
I always thought that was ridiculous. It was a lot.
He had a crucial mistake. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Daniel.
No, he had a crucial mistake. That kind of cost him the game this past weekend. But outside that, he played really well. His numbers look great. Completed almost 400 yards passing TD. So if he can build on that and continue to play, which is a big if, then he can become what we think he can become. But from what we've seen, as far as his sample size, that's a anomaly more than it is the norm, right? So if he can build on that, like I like to look at guys like, hey, the story is not completely written, right? I hope it's not written. And that's for a lot, especially as a black quarterback in the NFL. But I think that if I had to if you put my feet to the fire and had to say yes or no, I would say no at this point.
Hey,
but
Daniel, back in the day,
you'll be a smart man, Daniel.
Let me tell you something. Back in the day, I could dunk on the 8-foot rim. That's what Justin Fields just did. He put up stats against the Broncos. You know how many points the Broncos gave up the week before?
7.
They gave up 70 points the week before, man. Come on, man. Come on. You ain't giving them credit for putting up stats on the Broncos.
I mean, I'm not a football player, so he did it in an NFL game, so I try to give him respect. I'll leave that,
Daniel,
analysis.
You ain't no football player, but 70 points in a football game just in the NFL.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
Come on, man.
Come
you
on,
don't
man.
even get that in Madden. Come on, man.
No.
Who's scoring 70 in Madden?
Come on, He's going to be an NFL quarterback, but he cannot read a defense. And you look at the coaching staff; they don't seem like they are trying to put him in a position to be. To me, you would take a guy like that and you start with a baseline of what he's comfortable with and add to it. You don't just throw your stuff at him and say, let's go. And that's what they're doing.
What's the difference between him and Anthony Richardson, right? As far as the prototype and the size and the everything like that, right? Like when you start from.
You just said he's going to be an NFL quarterback, but he just can't read defense. How do they even go together? But listen, I think that's a testament to how dynamic of an athlete he is.
Yeah,
because you said you are steadfast and he gonna be an NFL quarterback, but he can't read defense.
Well, yeah.
Wait, what? But he is
not a starter. Okay, let me qualify. Not a starting, and he's gonna be like a backup.
But the backup needs to be able to read, right? Because if the thing hit the fan, we need a guy that can, It's wild, but he's such a talent that you are convinced, and I don't know if I'm with you or not, but a lot of people are convinced that he'll be a quarterback. Now, Shady McCoy on Speak says he's gonna be playing receiver like Terrell.
Yes.
I don't think that's gonna happen. Now he'll leave and go play somewhere else before he go play receiver.
I just think you look at how they're doing Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis. It's exactly like I'm talking about, man. You see all kinds of things that cater to his athleticism, route concepts that, keeping all the reads on one side of the field, right? You don't get this dude whole field reads until he's comfortable in the NFL. And
he's showing me a lot too.
Yeah, man, I'm impressed. A lot of that has to do with the coaching staff. That's their guy, and they want to grow him up.
They want to make it happen.
Yeah, Eberflus and those guys aren't doing that in Chicago. And so that tells me he's not their guy. Either they don't like him or they don't think he's capable of doing what they want him to do.
Well,
I was going to ask you how much
the whole coaching staff under the bus, Sam. I don't think they do like him. He threw him under the bus a week ago. What are we saying? You think we're going to put you in a position to be successful because we getting fired? We know we getting fired because you are terrible. And then you blame us. We're not about to design a intricate plan similar to how the Colts are doing to make you look good when we all about to be out of the job. Nah.
And so, fellas,
how much does coordinator and coach matter? Like, if they did design something like that, maybe they would still be in the picture to be there. But it just seems like
they're going to be there. No.
Square peg into a round hole at some point, right?
These coaches with the Bears are new, and so that's kind of lends to the point. They just got there,
so that's not their guy.
Yeah, that's not their guy. And so it's like, hey,
and some of the film you see too, Sam. This dude's running wide open, and he's just not throwing it to him. I don't know, man. Like Anthony Richards throwing open guys, right? If not, he getting down, he moving, he doing his thing. It's a lot of film out there of Justin Fields, open guys running all over the field, open. Like I'm talking about open. NFL don't get open that much, and they open. And he won't run. What are you going to do with that, Sam? Come on, man.
Hey, I knew it was going to be like I saw the dude at Ohio State. It said, please do not draft this guy.
That's the answer right there. Caleb Williams.
You know my fear. You know what my fear is.
What's that?
My fear is the Bears they're gonna keep sucking. They're not gonna get the number one pick. Caleb Williams is gonna go number one. JJ gonna get playing like he's playing, and the Chicago Bears are gonna take JJ McCarthy and just kill it. Just kill it man. If I gotta watch JJ in a Bears uniform, it's gonna kill me, man. It's gonna kill me.
That's the Bears draft. You better look out. That's a heck of a first round. Heck of a 2 picks.
They need to start putting him in worse positions to fail. They need to make sure that he don't have no more games like he did this past game, so that they can have this happen. That's what they need to do. They need to stop putting him in position. I don't know what they did. I mean, they played the Broncos, so that was what they did. But ain't no more Broncos out there. Ain't nobody else getting 70 put on them. So they need to put together bad plans and talk to ownership. Listen, man, we're not doing it. We're doing this so we can get the first pick. We are good coaches, right? We're done making guys be open for him. So we need to make sure we, tell me.
All right. So a couple more quarterback issues before we move on to I Love Ann Arbor. So you talk about a guy not being the guy for a franchise, for the fan base, or even for the football alums. Man, Zach Wilson. Hey, man, they have been all over this dude. He actually played well, Daniel. Yeah. He went out against the Chiefs And it was like, well, that's why he was number 2.
Yeah.
That's why he was the second pick.
He's making plays.
He was
I cheered
making
for
plays, man.
I cheered for him a little bit when he was out there making plays after play. He kept making good throws. At one point, he put together a couple back shoulder throws that were really nice. Yeah. I was kind of found myself almost clapping for him because he's been taking a beating, right? It's like one of those things where, like, hey, man, you got to get off the mat and answer the bell at some point. If this is what you, like you said, number 2 pick in the draft, this is what you do. You got to get off the mat and answer the bell at some point. I think he did that for the most part. You know, he had the crucial fumble, but man, I know, like I said, I felt myself feeling pretty happy, feeling pretty good for him the way he played.
Mm-hmm. I did too, Devin. I don't know the job. I hate Aaron Rodgers, so that made me by extension not want the Jets to do well, right? But I found myself rooting for this dude because literally everybody is against him. You got guys, you got his receivers messing with him on the side, all up in his face on the sideline. You got other players, defensive players, kind of talking about him. Then you got Joe Namath, talking about him from the sideline.
Joe Namath ain't hold no tongue, man. He is
right
now. That's the type of comments that should make you that as mad as the coach in Ohio. Those comments that Joe Namath was making, those are the disrespectful ones. Like, get this dude out of here. He's garbage. Get him out of here.
Which brings us to, and then the commentators taking liberties. He can't do it. He's a bust already. Like, everybody is literally against this guy. He comes out and plays that way. But then even after he comes out and shows some promise, Ben, do you have the Rodney Harrison? So Rodney Harrison after the game was interviewing Chris Jones. Chris Jones got his extension. I was holding out hope that the Lions would be able to, get a trade in there. That didn't happen. He back with the Chiefs, right? So Rodney Harrison is doing the interview, and he's asking Chris Jones about it. So here it is right here. Let's hear this real quick.
Was Zach better tonight than what you anticipated he would be watching him on tape? And you could be honest.
Honestly, if I'm being completely honest, we knew it was going to be a battle. He's continuing to get better week in and week out, and he's continuing to lead week in and week out.
But watching that tape, man, you got to look at this dude and say, "Oh, he is garbage."
So all right, you can take it. You can take it off. You can take it off, Ben. Man, commentators don't typically do that.
I wish I had more hands because I would give that take 4 thumbs down. I wish I had more hands. That was so weak, Sam. When I saw it, I said, "Is he serious?" And first, you see kind of smirking, smiling at the beginning of the first question because he's trying to get Jones to say something, right? He's trying to get into whatever viral moment, whatever. Okay, he don't take the bait. And you're going to double down and try to, you know what I mean? And it's just like, as a former athlete, I get it. Do your job, right? Do your job. And that position right there, he's not on a talk show right now. He's an analyst, right? So you need to analyze the game. What did the game tell you? The game told you he got down on the Chiefs. And outplayed with the best quarterback, in my opinion, in the history of football, probably, right? And Patrick Mahomes, most talented, right? And so for him to, okay, first, I see the first one. All right, maybe he'll say something crazy. These athletes to say something crazy, you will get some clicks, whatever. But to double down and then call this grown man garbage, I just don't understand what like, you don't understand he a man. And like, what if he got down? Like, what if he rolled up on you like, all right, dog, like, you know what I mean? You can't just talk crazy about, and not to mention he played good, right? He played good in the game. And so I as a former athlete, and you see all the athletes right now coming out like, oh yeah, that's a sucker move. Like, that was completely weak. I don't understand what his goal was. And it's like, I don't know, maybe he thought, let's get on the train and people will like me more because I'm on their train too of hating Zach Wilson. But that ain't how the world work, man. And I just think it was a weak, extremely capital letter weak move.
You feel like, Daniel, the former athletes, it's almost like because they are former athletes, feel like they could take more liberties. When I think it would be the other way around. I would think
Tom Brady was your quarterback.
They would be more understanding, right? So, I mean, this seemed like one of those times where Rodney Harrison was like, I can say this because I used to play.
Yeah, it's a complete lack of respect, right? Like, one guy looks at it like, this guy hasn't done anything, and I've won. I was this as a player, and I can look back on my career and say, so they take liberties. Shaq kind of does it in basketball as well when he sees like a big man or somebody, like he did with JaVale McGee. Like, certain guys, they at some point, when they feel like a guy isn't living up to the standard that they expect the NFL to be or what they expect that position, they kind of take liberties with you. And whether it's not fair, it's not cool, and it shows a little bit of insecurity on Rodney Harrison's part, but at the same time, hey, Zach Wilson, you the quarterback for a New York franchise.
I think the Shaq thing a little different. Because first of all, it was kind of funny. And JaVale McGee was doing wild stuff. Like Zach Wilson not just doing wild, goofy stuff. He's just not performing to the level of maybe you expect him to perform, right? But when you look at this year alone, he beat the Bills, outplayed in a game he didn't think he was supposed to play, and he just outplayed Patrick Mahomes, right? How many games did he play? 4 or 5? So half of the time in this season, he's played well with all the scrutiny, with all the people hating on him and all that. So I think that's different. JaVale McGee put together quite the highlight tape of lowlights of just doing silly stuff. He was doing crazy stuff. Now, Shaq took it a little too far, right? And it got kind of personal, whatever. But at the basis of it, it was like, man, you being goofy. Like, he was being goofy. But this guy had, like, what is your deal? Like, why would you attack this man after he just played good? I can see, like, Shaq ain't never attacked JaVale McGee after he had 20 and 17.
Yeah. Do y'all think the teammates on the sideline do it with the antics when Zach Wilson doesn't play well? Do y'all think that helps or lends like it gives other people like the that helps them feel better about attacking them? Because I think as a teammate, I hate seeing that, like when he misses a throw and Garrett Wilson gets up and he's all animated. I'm like, man, like you're gonna drop passes, you're gonna miss blocks. So I think as a team, I think if they cut out some of that, I think some of the scrutiny on Zach Wilson to slow down.
Right.
Yeah, he gonna complete the next one because you just got in his face. Like,
but you got to remember, Garrett Wilson also is young, and he thought he was about to play Aaron Rodgers, so he's still a little emotional. He want to cry every day. He probably cry every time when he go home. Like, oh my, man, this year.
I found myself to that point though. I found myself saying, where's the veteran on this team? Like, hey man, y'all need to chill out.
They're young. They all young. It was Aaron.
This is who we have. This is the guy we have. So we got to do what we can do to help him be better. You're not helping him be better right now.
And I think Aaron Rodgers was a big part of why he played so good because he gave us kind of a speech like that to the team, right? Him being there, I think, gave a lot of comfort to Zach Wilson to go out there and really ball. So, who knows moving forward what they could be.
Yeah, a locker room or any place of business, when you around a lot of different people, you got the foxhole people and then you got everybody else. Yeah. It's not that many foxhole people. It's not that many people that are comfortable under fire. And so you need the foxhole people to keep everybody else calm. Yeah. And it sounds like Aaron Rodgers, as much as I don't like the dude, at least in this instance, was a foxhole guy. But I like it when the athletes don't make it like he just, like you went out of your way to try to make this dude look bad after he played well. Like if he plays well, give him credit for playing well.
Analyze it, right?
Yeah, I like Charles Bryce. Like Charles, I had him on the show with Tim McCormick, the basketball insider, which is going to come back. We've had some great guests. Tim said he's going to give me Isaiah Thomas. Like, oh man, we got to do another season just for that, right? But he brought Charles on, and Charles like, man, I don't hold my tongue. I tell them what I think. They could tell me what they think about what I said, but I'm gonna always be fair. I'm gonna give him credit, and I'm gonna criticize. That's what I like about Charles. Like, if he says he's wrong about something, he'll let you come on and talk about it. If he's joking, he'll let you joke him back. Some of these dudes are too sensitive in that regard, right? So I like it when an athlete hears something and then he goes and gives it back to him and kind of let them know, and then they take it well. So that's what happened with Jared Goff. I don't know if you guys saw this. Ben, can you? So they were talking about Jared Goff. The regard that we have for Jared Goff is not the regard that they have for him around the league. For
nobody,
reasons I don't know. Nobody
has that regard.
Yeah, you talked about it. He took a team to the Super Bowl. This is what you said, Devin. He was #1 pick, like you said, Daniel. Let they talk about him like he's this bum, like he's a dude, right? So Ryan Fitzpatrick says something about him being a poor man's. He's a poor man's. Who's
Matt Ryan?
Matt Ryan. He's a poor man's Matt Ryan. So Jared Goff goes out. Yeah, he throws a pick against Green Bay, but he plays a really good game otherwise, right? The Lions go in Lambeau and put him down. And so now he's on the set with Ryan Fitzpatrick and all them after the game. And then let me hear this real quick.
Thought I played better throughout the rest of the game. Hope it's up to your standards.
You played a lot, man.
Okay.
You played very well, dog.
Okay.
We're very happy.
I didn't know it was a poor man's anything, but
oh, he hears that. He's listening.
I heard about it. That's all.
Call him out there, Dick. Andrew.
Hey, man. Hey, right? Don't you? Nah, if you didn't have respect.
Matt Ryan's a hell of a player.
I told him.
I'm giving you a hard time. I appreciate it, man.
All right, so let's go ahead and get that off the grid. See, I like that about Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
I like that about Ryan Fitzpatrick because he was like, he didn't get in his feelings. He's like, yeah, I said it. I said it. My bad. My bad. You went out there, ball. And Matt Ryan was a good player. You could have said he's a lot like Matt Ryan. Did Matt Ryan? Well, I mean, did Matt Ryan?
But I'm saying you Matt Ryan, but like much less.
Right. But last I checked, we both went to the Super Bowl and lost. Right. We both went to the Super Bowl. We both lost. So why am I the poor man's guy? Why am I not that guy? Right. So I give Jared Goff a whole lot of credit for standing up for himself. And like I said, he's elevating this team. All right. It's time for that point in the show where we talk about.
I can't wait to see this graphic.
How much love we have for Ann Arbor. The segment brought to you by the sponsor for Steady Dropping Dimes, Destination Ann Arbor. It is time for I Love
Drop
Ann
that
Arbor.
track. That boy sweet.
That is outstanding, is it not? Is it not? So last week, you guys might remember we talked about favorite water. I call it watering hole. Your favorite place to get a drink in Ann Arbor. This is necessary knowledge. Not just if you live in Ann Arbor, but a lot of folks come to town for games, right?
Yeah.
Come to town for business. You want to know what's a good spot.
Where do I need to go?
Where do I need to go to get a good drink? So we gave you a few options. I featured Ann Arbor Distilling last week, right? Featured Ann Arbor Distilling. We got some suggestions from the listeners and viewers. Monty's Public House was one that was brought up. Session Room was another that was brought up. I looked at the YouTube comments. Someone said Connor O'Neill's, which is a great one, pub downtown Ann Arbor. So I put that question out there, not just to spread the word to all of you who either live or might be traveling to Ann Arbor, but I also was very selfish with my motivation to kind of, get these suggestions because the Steady Dropping Dimes crew will be coming together later this month. We're trying to settle on a day of when we're going to do it, but when we do, we're going to want to maybe get together for a game at a watering hole. Where should we go? So if you have that spot that you like, man, you have got to check this place out. You got to check Connor O'Neill's out. You got to check Arbor Brewing out. You got to check out Wolverine Beer. Whatever the place is, let us know in the comments. Drop that dime on the side right here in the comment section and let us know about where we should go. But I'm going to feature another. This is kind of in preview of another because we're going to keep highlighting all of the places, people, and things in Washtenaw County that you should know about, courtesy of our friends at Destination Ann Arbor, your tour guide to all things Ann Arbor. Ben, throw that QR code back up for the people again. You can let this be your resource for anything that you are looking to do in Washtenaw County. Destination Ann Arbor is where you should go to kind of figure that kind of thing out. All right. One of the other things that we're going to be featuring Destination Ann Arbor in an episode, a future episode to be determined, is favorite steakhouse in Ann Arbor. Right. And so one of my friends over there at Destination Ann Arbor, Amy, she was like, hey, we should do your favorite steakhouse. I was like, yes, that would be outstanding because I got a lot. It's hard for me because I love the steakhouses in Ann Arbor. But here's the problem, right? Steakhouses are not necessarily places you go when you want to when you're going to just kind of watch a bunch of games. Like you go to a bar at a steakhouse and hang out, but that's not why I go to Chop House. That's not why I go to Nights. That's not why I go over to Ruth's Chris, right, or Common Grill. There are a lot of great steakhouses in Washtenaw County, and trust me when I say we are going to be sampling them all and featuring them all. But what about when you want to have a great steak and watch like 5 games at the same time, right? I mean, like a bar and grill. Most bar and grills you go to, like, not to call out any of the chain bar and grills. But you guys know, have you been to a bar and grill, Devin and Daniel, where it's like you order a steak and it's like rubber?
It's like,
It's like, this not what, I know it's a bar and grill, but come on, man. Somebody got to have some idea how to cook a steak. And you just don't get that at your chain bar and grills, right? You get bar and grill steak. But there's a place in Ann Arbor that's different. It gives you the bar and grill, but it also gives you a great steak, right? And it's steak your way. It's called Black Rock Bar and Grill. All right. You guys are familiar with Black Rock? You ever been to Black Rock?
I know Black Rock. It's a cool experience too, man. Especially for kids too, for everything. Because you get the Black Rock and you put it in that sizzle. That sizzle just gets you every time, man. It's a nice place. I enjoy it.
Right. So 3776 South State Street in Ann Arbor. It's Black Rock. So see that stone right there?
Right off 94. If you're coming from the east up 94, you get up through where you hit that left, it's gonna be right down on that right.
Right. So that's that molten, that's that tower of ice cream that they have right there, right? So it's super cool. But the experience is that right there, that steak on the stone. So it's like a lava stone, and they heat it up, right? They heat it up, it's super hot, and then they bring the steak, and you actually cook the steak right at your table. So, and then one of the great things about it is you watching the game, you're focused on the game. You know how it is, your food gets cold, you just throw it right back on the stone. Right back up, and it's ready to go. Like it is definitely different. It's not your typical bar and grill steak. It's not like you're going to Chop House or Common Grill or Ruth's Chris or anything like that. But it's way better than the bar and grill steaks that you get. Unique experience. The menu is fantastic, and it's a sports bar. So you got TVs everywhere. Any game you want is on. They have an outdoor patio. Where really expensive. They have a conference room. That's where I went, and when Chris Webber was in town, we went over and hung out with Chris Webber over there. It was before Zion Williamson. Before that draft, and he was like, "Man, this dude Zion Williamson, he different. He's different. That's different than you. I saw you in high school. Saw you in college. I don't think they're better than Chris Webber. But my point is, you get people going through there when they want to have a great drink and a steak and talk and watch sports. This is a great venue to do it at. And speaking of which, how I'm trying to put together this party for the Droppin' Dimes crew around the NFL game, probably because Devin's working on Saturdays calling games. So we're trying to put together that party. There is a party already set for Black Rock, Saturday, October 21st, with my friends over at the radio station at WTKA. We are having a Beat Sparty party, right? So for the Michigan State game, we're going to do the pregame show there, the KeyBank Countdown to Kickoff. We're going to be doing it live from Black Rock Bar and Grill. We don't have a time for the game yet, so that'll determine the start time for the pregame show. But then right after the pregame show, we're going to have a watch party. We're going to be watching Michigan State get the brakes beat off of them by Michigan again, right? Right there at Black Rock Bar and Grill, having the steak, having the tower of ice cream. It is going to be an outstanding party. So listen, save that date. We know it's going to be on October 21st. If you're anywhere in the Washtenaw County area, come on down. We're going to have a blast. It is a great menu, great steak, right? And it's a sports bar at the same time. We are going to have a blast. And it'll be a nice warm-up for the party the Droppin' Dimes party that we're going to have. It's going to be very, very similar, except it's going to be with Devin and Daniel coming to town, and we're going to try to put it around a Lions game. If it's not the Lions, maybe it'll be the Saints. Who knows? but the point is, we're going to get together, and we need you to keep dropping those suggestions. So let us know where we should go. We're considering Monty's Public House. We're considering Session Room. We're considering Arbor Brewing. We're considering all these spots. Let us know where you think we should go, and we're going to set that Droppin' Dimes party at a date to be determined. So be on the lookout. Of course, like I said, on the 21st, Saturday the 21st, the Beat Sparty party over at Black Rock Bar and Grill. So save the date. Join us over there at 3776 South State Street right here in Ann Arbor. So many great places in Ann Arbor to get food, get drinks. We're going to expose you to all of them here on Dropping Dimes. And of course, courtesy of our friends at Destination Ann Arbor. Give me that QR code one more time. Mr. Krasner, our great producer, backstage. Again, you want to know where to go. I hear people all the time, where should we go to eat? Right? I tell media members who come to town, where should we go? Destination Ann Arbor. That's all you got to do. It's really simple. Like, you're looking for this suggestions, places to, not just places to eat, but places to experience, history of the town, events coming to town when you might be in town at the same time. Destination Ann Arbor is the place, is your resource for all things Washtenaw County. Check that QR code right there. And don't forget to keep dropping those suggestions in the comments about where we should go, your favorite place in Washtenaw County to get a drink. All right? Let us get that splash page as an outro too. Can we get that again, Ben, please? That is so sweet. Hey, we're official. We're official. Look, when you got friends like Destination Ann Arbor, you got to do it big, right? You got to do it big. Right. All right. So Antoine, one of our great supporters, he says, speaking of Sparty, Sam, did you hear anything about your boy Urban going to them? They don't live up to the standard that Urban needs. See, Urban is a front runner. Did y'all know Urban is a front runner? Urban is a front runner. The deck has to be stacked for Urban to step into a situation.
I don't know about that, Sam.
No.
When he went to Florida, they wasn't good.
Oh, come wait, whoa. Now, they may not have been coached well, but they had talent.
Yeah,
he stepped into Alex Smith at Utah. Right. He stepped into Chris Leak and a bunch of dudes at Florida. Ron Zook was recruiting his tail off at Florida. Then you come up here and you stepping into what? What did he have? Was Braxton Miller, all those dudes at Ohio State? Stop it. Come on, DG.
I'm just saying. The team didn't have the success that you would want, is all I'm saying.
Jay Marion is on it. Jay Marion said Urban needs a loaded roster. You know whose roster is not loaded? With good players. I mean, it's loaded, just not with good players. Michigan State. So he's not going there.
I think he's not going there because it's Michigan State. Even if they had a loaded roster, why would he go to a school who is going to be the doormat for 3 other schools for sure? At least 3. Now, obviously, right, this year it's like 12, right? But at least 3 in a good year, you're going to be the doormat for. Why would he do that? That don't make no sense. Nobody should do that.
Would it be a chance for both of them?
A career resume like he got, right? For right now, everybody looks at him as a top 3, maybe all-time college football quarterback. I mean, not quarterback, but coach. Ain't no way you going to the second school in the state. That don't make no sense.
I agree.
That don't make no sense. Even if the roster was loaded, that don't make no sense. Even if they had Kenneth Walker still there, that don't make no sense.
I don't know. I don't know if they have enough money to pay Urban at this point.
And also, we need my money on time. Man, you gotta know.
So you actually think that would be a legit thing, Daniel? Urban Meyer to Michigan State?
I don't want to see it happen, but I think it could be. It's a chance for both of them. It's a chance for him to rehab his image, right? Because no big time major program is going to hire him right now with what he's coming off of, right? So it's a chance for him to rehab his image, a chance for MSU to punch above their weight, and I don't think it'll make the guys in Ann Arbor have to work a little harder, but I don't think it'll flip the rivalry like they're praying it would. But it would definitely make the guys in Ann Arbor have to work a little harder.
Urban's not healthy enough, Daniel. See, he's on that. I don't know if it was like heart medication or some kind of medication.
Those types of stresses.
Yeah, he has some kind of stress going on, and whatever that medication is, it started being laced with like meth or something because he was high. He was high last week.
Daniel,
what he said? Yeah. He was. I'm not making it up. He was on something. Like Urban Meyer was literally on some kind of substance before he went on the air.
Did you see the clip of him talking to the young lady off to the side as they were panning back to the?
I didn't see that part. I just saw him looking high on the screen talking about Michigan. Can you bring that up, Ben? Can you bring up high Urban Meyer talking about Michigan, Nebraska? Devin. Okay.
Let me see if I can.
I can't say the man was high.
I didn't see it, so I'm seeing it for the first time.
High. I'm
Yeah,
saying he seemed high to me. Okay, so let me.
You said he ate half of that gummy and he was saucy.
Yeah,
Somebody just slipped him a gummy and he was saucy.
Yeah, Urban was definitely feeling something.
I gotta see this video
before he said this. So he was talking Michigan, Nebraska. The same Nebraska that we saw lose to Minnesota, right? Same Nebraska that we saw get rolled by Colorado. He's all about Nebraska giving Michigan some problems. You have that clip, Ben? Once you have that clip, pull it up on the screen. Nebraska did have the #1 rush defense in the country, but they hadn't played anyone. Here it is. Let's hear Urban Meyer.
The Wolverines have played a schedule that's not very good. If you play bad schedules, I've been there before, you just don't get better. If you're the same team in October you were in September, you're not a very good team. I believe in Matt Rule. I believe in Nebraska. We saw them. They should have beat Minnesota. If you don't turn the ball over here a couple weeks, you're right in that game. Don't turn the ball over. Let that 3-3-5 defense play. They got good players on defense. I think it's going to be a close game in Lincoln.
Crack.
Great rush defense. That's one thing we know. The line of scrimmage battle is going to be interesting. To me, it really comes down to if Nebraska with Heinrich Harburg at quarterback can make enough big plays in the passing game, because we know J.J. McCarthy can, and I don't know that the Nebraska secondary can match up with guys like Roman Wilson, who's right now leading the Big Ten in touchdown reception. So I think that's where this game gets a little bit out of hand, is the bigger plays in the passing game, and J.J. McCarthy, as he starts to kind of build up, maybe kind of flying under the radar for the Heisman hype, but as Michigan moves along, keep an eye on J.J. McCarthy. He's starting to get more of that hype.
Look at Brady Quinn picking up his teammates. So he sees Urban Meyer is clearly high right now. Like, this man is clearly under the influence. Let me try to save this segment by sounding sensible right now. Am I the only one that's seen this man clearly?
Remember, but Sam, what did I say? I told you. I said, you got to look at this. Urban Meyer don't like Michigan, right? So he really don't want to have to say nothing good about Michigan. That's first thing. Secondly, he's friends with Matt Rule, right? And then when you look at the stats, you say, well, Nebraska has the #1 rush defense in the country. And what does Michigan like to do? Run the ball. So now he has an in, right, a pathway to make sure that he can, 1, down Michigan, and 2, back his boy without looking completely crazy, except for to say.
That's crazy.
Hey, listen. Wait, hold on.
I'm playing that rule. You need to put out a better product so your boy don't be looking crazy on TV.
Marcus Ellis is aligning him with you. He said, Devin, these are the people you work with, Devin.
No. They on Big Noon. I do games. We don't really even cross paths, bro. Hey, I'm just telling you, I like to empathize, right? I like to put myself in other people's shoes all the time. This is for everybody. Remember all them times we was breaking down Cade? I tried to put myself in the shoes. I just couldn't understand it. I said, this boy is blind, right? So this is the thing. I see if you got a friend that's a coach, right? You know how the coaching fraternity is, right? It's a tight-knit group, and you don't like Michigan. That gives you all the reason to say that, not to mention the number support that the one thing that Michigan likes to do, Nebraska is tops in the country somehow. I mean, I don't know.
Man, I don't know how tight the coach is.
Minnesota run the ball real good.
Hey, listen, my man Vance Bedford used to work for Urban down in Florida. He said, I don't know, Sam. Urban looked high to me. He looked high to me. So I'm not even just making it up. Urban, he looked high. He sounds high. I don't know that he was high.
Hey, Mad Dog said I'm eating another half of the gummy later, so that's all I'm saying. It's a possibility, I guess.
Yeah, man, these are
you
different
said Mad Dog sharing gummies with Fox, huh?
Oh, that's what you talking about, Devin? Or Daniel?
Yeah, that's it right there.
See, man.
What are you doing? What are you doing? Is it a play button? Play it.
No,
I don't think so. Is it?
It pans to the stage like pretty quickly, but it catches him chatting up the young lady on the side.
What's his wife's name? Shelly.
Hey Sam, look at my face.
This dude. So you haven't learned your lesson.
Don't look.
Did I ever tell y'all the story? So
yeah,
man, it's a story now I could tell. Vance was working at Florida with Urban. Charlie Strong was on the staff, and they had Percy Harvin. So Percy Harvin was obviously he's P. Harv, right? And so he did something. I can't remember what it was. And his receiver coach, Billy Gonzalez, was all over him, right? Man, next thing you know, Van said, man, players, they're running out to the field, say, hey, y'all got to come in here. Percy, he beating up Billy. He was beating up his receiver coach. So, so they go in. They go in and they pull Percy off of Billy Gonzalez, right? And Charlie was handling all of the discipline because Urban is not going to discipline anybody, right? He just want to win games. And so Charlie says, "Hey, Percy, you can't be beat." as if you have to say you can't be beating up coaches, right? So, Percy, you can't be beating up coaches now. You can't. Percy, I'm gonna have to suspend you. He says, "Suspend me, suspend Percy. You can't suspend Percy. Ain't that right, Herb? Right?" So, do you know that man didn't miss no time?
Wow.
Hey man, hey.
Percy was a different animal. He may be a top 5 all-time college football player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, that was Urban's point. Like, I don't know,
dog. I don't think we can do that.
About no suspension. Maybe he'll miss a quarter. Maybe he'll miss a couple snaps. But a game, I don't know about that.
Urban said suspension.
So you can't
suspension. What kind of language? What is that? French? Is that French? Suspension? I don't know none of that. What's that?
Ryan Block said Percy was in practice.
My question is, why was he beating up his coach? I want to know why he was beating him up.
I don't know what it was. Whatever the reason was, it was good enough for Urban. Urban, hey,
just think, as good as that documentary,
you shouldn't have told that man, excuse me, like that, brother. Lower your voice.
As good as that documentary was, real life had to be 10 times better. 10 times crazier.
Well, that was a fluff feast. You talking about that gator?
Yeah,
man, that was a fluff feast. That wasn't half of what really, just from knowing people that worked there, that worked for Urban. Greg Madison worked down there for Urban. Vance worked down there for, man. I got a lot of stories. I don't even cover Florida. I got a lot of stories, right? So anyway, let's switch gears a little bit and talk about a topic that we ended with last week because we got to pick it up. Dame Lillard gets traded to the Milwaukee Bucks, and I was very out front saying I think this makes them the team because now you got a sniper, one of the best point guards, one of the best sniper guards of all time, and an unselfish guy, not a me guy at all, paired with Giannis, who I think is the best player in the game, and a guy who could actually go out there and play some defense against what should have been last year's MVP, right? Nikola Jokic. Like, this dude could actually defend the Joker, right? So you got the ingredients to go out there and get it done. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking they're the team. And then, as that trade kind of came around, I said, Miami needs to go get Drew Holiday. You know who went and got Drew Holiday, Daniel? The Boston Celtics.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dan. I don't have as much bass in my voice talking about Milwaukee anymore after that move.
No, that's a big time move. I think it makes them the favorites to come out of the East, and it makes them the favorites to win the championship as well. Obviously, with adding Drew Holiday and his presence at the point guard position, he's a point guard that can play multiple positions, and you don't really see that. You rarely see that in the NBA. He plays bigger than his size. He defends. He rebounds. He gets other people involved in the game. He's a leader on and off the court. So he's a guy that's going to bring some. He's going to be a lot more stable at that position than Marcus Smart and the guys they had previously. So I think he's going to that puts them in a championship position. Now in Milwaukee, if Dame buys into playing defense at 33 years old, if he's a good defender at 33 years old, then I would love to see that series because I'm still waiting to see who's going to guard a 2-man game between Dame and Giannis in it. So we'll see, man. It's gonna be a great series. I think it's a 6 or 7 game series if they meet up. But at this point, with adding Drew Holiday, I'm picking Boston.
Yeah, man. Listen, you look at the moves that Boston's made this offseason. Last year was a transition year for the Celtics because I don't think people had enough respect for how big a deal losing Ime Udoka was for that team. Like, he figured out all the right buttons to push. I thought that's why I was like, Pistons need to go get Ime Udoka. I understand that he violated some company policy, having a consensual relationship with a subordinate. You can't do that. Cannot do that. That's a fireable offense. All right, but the man was fired. Clean slate someplace else. I'm hiring him. Now, the word was, and I don't know if this was a legit reason why he wasn't on the Pistons board, but the speculation was that the Pistons weren't going to do it because they had the Rob Murphy thing going on. Remember, former Eastern Michigan coach went to work with the Detroit G League team, and then
he's like assistant GM.
Yeah, and then there was a situation with a subordinate of his, and so the speculation was the Pistons weren't going, and that hadn't been resolved yet, and there was speculation that they weren't going to touch Ime Udoka, which had me in my feelings because I think he's not just a good coach, I think he's a great coach. Looking back on what he did with Boston, so you got Joe Mazzulla coming in, this old John Beilein guy, and he's charged with taking a team that played for a championship and getting them right back, and he just first year guy. They might respect you as a man, but do they respect you yet as a coach that you know what buttons to push?
Those guys have more experience than him.
Those guys have more experience than him, and then they wound up being short. They wound up being short a scorer, like a third scorer, because they went through way too many drops to have Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown on that squad. You would think they would never have drops, but they need a guy in the backcourt that can go create his own offense. They didn't have that. They didn't have a third scorer, right? So, but what do they do in the offseason? They trade Marcus Smart for Kristaps Porzingis. That doesn't give you the guy in the backcourt the catalyst that goes and sets it up, but it does give you a bona fide third scorer. So you shouldn't have those kinds of drops. But you lose a guy who is probably the heart and soul of the team in Marcus Smart. Daniel, they just replaced that. You got a better. He might not be the mentality that Marcus Smart is, but as a player, as a two-way player, Drew Holiday is better than Marcus Smart.
He's a better player, yes, sir.
So you upgraded your offense, and then you upgraded the Marcus Smart role. I think this. I'm starting to be with you. I think the Celtics are the squad.
The only question is who's going to guard Giannis in that squad. That's why I say it's a 6 or 7.
Look at Sam's face. Look at Sam's face. You got a point there.
who's gonna guard when push come to shove and they give Giannis the ball mid post? You can try to load up all you want, but not to have Dame, you can't load up as much as you could, even with Drew Holiday. So if you load up the floor with the shooters they have, right? Like it's just gonna put them in a tough place. They don't really have anyone to guard Giannis. So if he puts in one of those virtuoso 35, 14, and 10 series, Milwaukee might get him.
Yeah.
Hey, and not to mention, Giannis's bag is supposed to be a little deeper this year.
Yeah, supposedly.
Well, he gonna hit a couple threes. He gonna hit a couple.
I don't know about all that. Nah.
He made more last year. And if you go back,
he's not gonna be dependent on to shoot three.
Hey, look, if you go back and look at Giannis's shooting form from his first couple years, it's totally different than it is now. So I think if he gets back to, he can still be a good shooter. I'm not gonna. The story is not written on that yet.
Well, here's how I expect. You're right. They don't have anyone who can defend Giannis. I mean, I think the best you can hope for is now Giannis has to play some defense. A little more defense with Porzingis there. That's a nice front court scoring tandem. Al Horford can hit threes. They can do high low with Al and Porzingis. Now they become a tougher guard, and maybe you take something out of Giannis offensively by working him more defensively. But I think the biggest thing for them will be, can Jaylen Brown take the next step? He's speaking of bags, he got the bag.
Let's say, can he? I will hope he will.
But here's what the guy, the alpha on that team was Marcus Smart. He didn't have a game. He didn't have a game that Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum have. But he was like the fiery guy, the guy that rallied everybody. I think that's going to be Jaylen Brown this year. Jason Tatum is the most talented guy. He has an alpha game and beta mentality. He can't put it together. Jaylen Brown has both. He has an alpha game and an alpha mentality. I think he takes his game up a notch. And I think by taking his game up a notch with all the other additions that they've had, it's why I got to see some games before I say Milwaukee's gonna take.
Yeah, I know, right? You gotta see how it work. Because the thing is, the Celtics is gonna work. Like, to the level or whatever, that's up for question, coaching or whatever. But those pieces for sure are gonna work. And now you gotta just wait and see. I mean, I think it's good. I'm excited to see some basketball now.
Well, here's one thing to consider, Daniel, as we'll get Daniel back on to close things out. You got to consider something he just said about Joe Mazzulla. He said, they got more experience than Joe Mazzulla. Yeah. Now the Bucks find themselves in that same position. They fired Mike Budenholzer, and Adrian Griffin is in his first year. He's going to be in his first year as the Bucks coach. And there's no training wheels on this one, pal. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to come in right now. We win the championship right now, and you're a first-year coach. He's in the position that Joe Mazzulla was in last year. The circumstances are different.
I think he got a little better situation, though.
Yeah, right? it is.
You got Giannis, who, in my opinion, he feels unstoppable, right? Like, he not going to be stopped. And then you got a motivated Dame who is already comfortable. Hey, he's the best player. This is the first time I ever played with a player that's better than me, because that was the question. Is it going to jail because Dame is that guy, right? Used to being that guy, and you get with another dude that's that guy. I think that Dame put it out Front Street like, hey, listen, man, I'm ecstatic to play with a player better than me. And so when you drive into the basket and you Giannis and you attracting the entire team, and then you kicking that thing to Damian Lillard, I just feel like that how much coaching needs to happen there? You know what I mean? And I think they got a real shot.
People want to know what happened with Jimmy Butler, man. Kobe Nichols said, hey, can someone check on Miami Jimmy?
Man, he got a dang old goofy rap hairstyle, and that's why the Holiday said, nah, man, he tripping. I'm going to this. So tripping. He doing too much. What he doing?
I don't know.
The dread thing last year where he had like a low cut and then somehow he got dreads at the thing. And it's like, come on, man. I know it's funny. I don't know. I ain't into that kind of thing, but he's miserable right now. He's like, man, I cannot believe this.
All right. So, folks, we got to wrap things up. We still want your suggestions for our Steady Droppin' Dimes get together. That's going to happen later this month. We're going to set the date. We need the location where we should go get a drink. We're probably going to put it around a Lions game, and maybe you can come out and hang out with the Droppin' Dimes crew when we do. But we need your favorite places to get a drink in Ann Arbor. Now, we're going to do this responsibly, right? And we're going to encourage you all. We're going to make sure you all do that drink responsibly. We are going to be riding around in the Golden Limo Party Bus. And
yes, sir.
The Golden Limo Party Bus is outstanding, right? Listen, you got to expect for it to be outstanding. Michigan football rides on Golden. Michigan basketball rides on Golden. Yeah. Michigan athletics, they all ride on Golden. And so I rode on Golden for the first game. I had to get to the game, didn't have my. So I got one of the Golden Limo executive transportation vehicles, one of the SUVs to come on out and take me to the game. Ben, if you have that video, let me see you shake your head backstage. Do you have that video? If you do, bring it on up. And we also made it out to the yard, to the facility to check out the party bus last week. Took the film crew out there, Ben and the guys. And when I say the options that they have from, your big bus tours, if you're going on a big trip, they definitely have you covered there, to your executive transportation vehicles, whether you're going to the airport or across town or riding to the game on game days. I went to a game in a Golden Limo vehicle. Devin went home from a game in a Golden Limo vehicle, right? And so here is that experience that I had with Golden Limo a couple weeks ago, as my man Willie picked me up. Man, Willie picked me up at home, took me to the first game of the season, and it's service that is second to none. It's luxury. You feel like you're that. I felt like DG riding in the Golden Limo. Hey, DG, is this what it's like to be you, man? You know, riding around in the
I'm not getting involved with you today.
going home, getting that rooftop sauna like you have. Is it like this?
I need to get in that thing. Man.
Right. And so, going to the game, got me there on time, safely with a driver that knows where he's going. You know how you get in an Uber. I mean, you got the driver looking at the phone all the time, right? They don't know where they're going. That's different when you ride in comfort with our friends at Golden Limo. Just like I said, you go to the games, you see those 3 big or 4 big buses pulling up to Michigan Stadium. Those are Golden Limousine buses, right? When you see us riding around for the Droppin' Dimes party, it's gonna be in a Golden Limo bus. And we went out to get some footage, and I gotta get my guy Ben, who was one of the film guys. Ben, you got a picture of us out at the lot? You got that picture? Can you bring that up real quick? Of us out at the lot, checking out all the different Golden Limo vehicles. He's gonna put that on the screen here. Look at that. Look at that. That's the film crew. You see that, DG?
Man, that's official, man. He got the whole back strap, everything.
Yeah, man. We had the film crew out there at Golden Limousine checking that out. And so we're gonna show you everything, all the vehicles that Golden Limo has at your disposal, whether it's like the executive transport, the bus transport, the party transports that you might have, like we're gonna have weddings, you name it, proms. They got you covered with all of those. You do it in style, you do it safely with Golden Limo. You can find more information at goldenlimo.com. That is going to do it for this episode. Another one in the books, DG.
Dropping dimes.
We'll be back next week, folks, for another episode of Steady Dropping Dimes, brought to you by our friends at Destination Ann Arbor. We'll see you then.